Cosmos me Observa on Silencio is the fourth full length from Ornamentos del Miedo, which is a Spain-based um, melodic funeral doom metal act. And I guess when I say they call it atmospheric funeral doom metal, which for me that's a little bit redundant in the sense that you expect funeral doom metal to be atmospheric. It is essentially that. And when I say melodic, that is something you don't necessarily expect from Funeral Doom, because this band and this style of music that he plays is inherently influenced by 90s doom metal, and specifically melodic death doom metal from the 90s, in the sense that we get a lot of melodies and sort of fluid motion throughout all of it that is constructed in the same way that, like, the first two Catatonia records would be. Now, this is a band from Angel Chicote, who is better known for being a guitarist in Mass Burial, sort of a Swedish-style death metal band from Spain, as well as another death doom metal band, Graveyard of Souls. But this is more intending to be funeral doom metal, and I never really liked Graveyard of Souls very much. It's an alright band, but this is much more to my taste. It is sort of a keyboard heavy funeral doom metal sound, which fans of Shape of Despair and maybe Skepticism, but more like Officium Trist and Colosseum would appreciate for its lead guitar driven sort of catchier melodies and its ethereal keyboard use. So we'll get into a clip of a song. They're all quite long, but we'll get, at least 15-20 seconds of a piece that gives you a sense of the atmosphere and the feeling of these guitar hook driven moments. So I've been a fan of this band in the past, and I've talked about some of their albums more recently in the last couple of years, because I'd never quite gotten to the full review status because I wasn't sure if this was interesting and important to me just because it reminds me of Dance of December Souls a little bit, or sort of the October Tide, sort of lead guitar driven, somber, and extended melodic death doom touch to funeral doom, which is actually fairly common. If you follow, labels like Solitude Productions, you'll find there's a lot of bands that sort of take that idea and find their own extreme within it. So this isn't such an outlier for its style so much as what they do with it, which is make these very well-rounded, beauteous songs which tap into a sorrowful mode in a way that is very tuneful, believable, and sort of enchanting in its atmosphere and all that. So he's really been chipping away at different sounds and different admixtures of different synthesizers and whatnot for the sake of finding like a pocket of just the right touch that works with the songwriting. So I wouldn't say that there's a huge evolution to find in their discography, but this is the one album where I feel like he got it right all the way through. There's no real filler here, although it's quite a fairly long album. But these long-form pieces all resolve in satisfying ways, which do also always feature a guitar melody or an interesting riff, and there are actual riffs here. It doesn't quite lean into death metal at all, so much as it is melodic metal that is infused with funeral doom metal pacing. So slow motion doom metal for sure, but not taxingly slow, and always active with its, like I said, melodic guitar runs and quite pushed back vocals. I think that's the one thing that I'd like to hear worked on in this band, is sort of get the vocals to the point where they're a little bit more evocative and less kind of pushed back. It creates what I call a gravel floor in the sound design, where there's the grid of the vocals is sort of the plane of existence, and then the rest of everything presents the scenery. And the lead guitars are obviously the main voice as far as generating movement in the music. So a very classic sound for me in terms of what I like about it, but also an exaggerated sound, which is his own thing at this point. I think there's a lot of bands that sound like this, but he's really worked something special into this record, even if, the artistic design, the cover art, all that is it's kind of bad, but everything else kind of makes up for it in the experience, and it's quite a substantial release with a couple of nice special editions that sort of feels like the high point for the project so far. So it's a moderately high recommendation for me, just because I know the general public is not going to find too much special about this until you dig into it. And I think once you do, and you're a fan of these things that I've described, it's a pretty big, or at least a very good release for fans of atmospheric, extreme doom metal, and funeral doom metal. So check that out if that's your kind of thing. You might like it even more. And go ahead and read about what I have to say in the written review, and check the album out now.
Memoria.